Hey guys, Arvind here from Epic Career Labs, and I'm welcoming you to the third episode of Epic Career Secrets. In today's episode, we're going to be talking a lot about networking, professional networking, that is. Now, for the longest time, I've been suffering with a stigma or a mental block when it comes to networking, and I've been like, ugh, that's a very sleazy thing to do. That's a very disgusting thing to do. Well, over time, I've worked on that mental block and I've kind of figured out a repeatable technique that can be done, that can be followed by you, just to make sure that your networking game, your professional networking game, is on point. Now, a couple of statutory announcements. There is, of course, my email list, which you can see on the ticker below. That's definitely there, and there is my social media handles as well. So, whatever you're doing, make sure that you hit like or subscribe, depending upon where you're watching it, right? And make sure that you connect with me on social media, or of course, you connect with me by joining that email list. Now, this episode, right? What I wanted to do was I wanted to split it into two parts. Now, first is I wanted to talk to you about networking itself and the kind of the strategic side of things, right? And what you can do to prepare. There are like about 5 things that I've listed out that you should be in a place in a mental space as well as, like in an emotional space to prepare for so that you can network well in your professional perspective. That's the strategic side. On the other end, I do have the tactical side. And in this tactical side, what I'm doing is I'm actually going to be sharing a lot of different techniques, different places, different things that you can do to start building your network straight off the bat. Now, some of these are things that I have done myself, and some of them are things that have worked well for others. Okay. So without much ado and fanfare, let's start off with the first thing that I'm going to be saying from a strategic perspective. Okay. This is it. This is the essence of networking. Okay. It all boils down to you talking to new people in new places. It's as simple as that. If you have this in your head and you know what to do with it, go ahead, just leave the stream now. Well, actually, don't just stay out because there's a lot more stuff coming out. But again, this is what networking is all about. It's about talking to new people in new places. And the majority of the time, what happens is you and I, we know how to talk to friends, right? We always have something to talk about. But when we have to approach a stranger, it becomes slightly more difficult because we don't have an established way or established common rapport or a common world or any level of overlap for us to go ahead and start that conversation. And that's what it's going to be coming down to, right? How do you establish that rapport? How do you establish that commonality so that you can go and talk to just about anyone that you want? Moving forward, there is 5 rules. There are 5 rules that I have kind of outlined for you to keep in mind so that you can essentially start networking better when it comes to a professional perspective. Okay. The first one is to dig a well before you need it. Quite simply put, if you need something from someone, don't connect with them like the day before you need it. Right? Think long term. Make connections before you actually need anything from people. Now, over the rest of this session today, over the rest of this live stream, and when you're watching this in the future, that's what I'm going to be covering. How do you actually connect with people before you need anything from them? Okay. So the first one is connect with people that you want to, right? Keep an open mind. Keep just planning for the whole thing, but dig that well before you need it. Okay. So don't connect with somebody just before you need something from them. And once you made that first connect, the next thing that you got to do, number 2, is to add value. What I mean by that is quite simply, you have to look at how you can make that other person's life better. Whenever it comes to communication or any sort of communication, right? Not just in networking, you have to answer this question: what's in it for me? Except you answer it from the recipient's perspective. You have to answer from your own thing. What's in it for them? Why should they connect with you for any reason whatsoever? You have to have a compelling reason to do so. Now, there are many times when the power dynamic isn't set up right. You need something from them and they probably don't need anything from you. But we're going to be looking at other ways that you can kind of figure out how you can connect with others by giving them something useful to talk to you about, right? This is a very important technique, and that's what I call total immersion. This is a mental mindset, right? Before you connect to someone, you have to completely immerse yourself into whatever that person is doing. I used to call this the Casanova effect, and for a while, when I was listening to Terry Pratchett's audiobooks, I used to call it the Casananda effect. The idea is very simple. Whoever is your mark or your target or the person that you want to connect to, what you have to do is completely immerse yourself in that world. Start stalking them, start reading out the kind of content that they put out on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter. Start engaging with them, right? So, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be completely aware of what each one of these people are doing. Okay. So, therefore, you know what's happening in their world. You won't know it inside out. You won't know it inside out because you're not yet connected with them. But what you can see is from the outside, it shows that you've done the research. So you know the kind of direction that they're talking about. You know the kind of stuff that they're interested in. And that becomes quite important. That's what I mean by total immersion. Now, remember how I said that sometimes you don't have the right to offer to someone, the right value, perhaps in your head, that you don't have that to offer to anyone? Well, the workaround for that is to be a connector. What I mean by that is quite simple. I need something from you, but I have nothing to offer you except my network. Maybe looking at whatever, like, to do the process of total immersion, you found out that A, B, and C are the things that I'm interested in. So what I'm going to do, or what you could do, is if you want to connect with me, is like, hey, you know what? Can we please connect? I think, you should probably meet such and such or so and so. So you see, you're not directly vying for the connection yourself, but you should probably try to connect two people. Now, what happens is when you're starting out professionally, this could work. Okay, this will work. But what happens is as you grow up, right, as you mature, you realize, and others will realize as well, that this is a very common technique, right? When people are just going to be asking for just 5 minutes of your time, in the beginning, it's going to be okay because your time is not valuable. But as you progress higher up in your career, in business, whatever that thing is, when the value that somebody else is going to be adding to you is going to be smaller and smaller, you're going to be more and more, what do I say, that resistant to such a connection. So you do have to keep that in mind. So if you're going to be a connector, this is a very good thing because always be connecting, right? That's one of the best ways to actually expand your network and expand the value that you possess. And finally, when you do get that connection, when you do make that contact with someone, all you got to do is this. Remember, you have to listen. That's all there is. All you have to do is listen, because when you're talking, when you're listening to people, it's much easier to respond if you're not thinking of, oh, this is what I'm going to be saying next. It's like when you go to a party and everybody's like, hooking up their phones or something to play some music, or they're like playing something via YouTube. And the only thing is you're not enjoying the song then and there, right? You're thinking about the next song that you're going to be playing. That's how things are. So what you got to be doing is remember that you have to listen before you talk. The more you listen, the more info you can gather, the more you can do the total immersion stuff. And once you have that complete immersion, when you're listening, you can respond much, much better. And that is one of the best ways that you can actually become a very good networker, right? That's just you listen and you have good technique when it comes to conversations. Now, before we move forward, I want to talk about one or two books, and I'm just going to be writing down that author's name. Okay. The work by this particular author, Leil Lowndes, has helped me tremendously in my past. When I came down to Bangalore in 2002 for engineering, I was a short, fat, stout, and extremely shy kid. Okay. When I say shy, I mean super shy. I would be so shy. Like, in fact, in 12th standard, I still remember I used to be so shy that if there was anybody else in the room, I still remember I had this crush on this one girl, Angeli, I think her name was. And anytime she would walk into the room, I would get all sweaty and very nervous. And I would be so scared that I could not even like turn around and look at her. Right? The common room that I was supposed to go into, I would never have the courage to do something like that. Of course, I had a lot of inferiority complex and a lot of confidence issues. But the point is, I decided I'm going to be changing all of that when I came down to do my engineering, right? And this book, Leil Lowndes, she's written a book. She's written many, many, many books, and I recommend you try 92 Tips and Tricks on How to Talk to Anyone. Phenomenal book. I still remember it was the yellow cover, and I've read it like end to end number of times. I've gifted it to a number of different people, especially if you're an introvert. That book contains a number of different tips and tricks that you can do, 92 of them, in fact, that you can use to start talking to other people. Okay, so go ahead, check out that book. All right. Now that you know what you need to do, and now that you know how you're supposed to prepare for the whole thing, I want to be talking to you a little bit about different places that you can actually go to and start building up your network. Okay, let's start. The first one, the first place to go and figure out are places close to home. And what I mean by that are your neighbors. Now, I don't know how many of you know your neighbors. I know perhaps one, two, three of them. Okay, and I know four, five, and six just in passing. I live on the on the second floor of this building, and there are six people here, right? And I know all of them, right? I know four of them professionally, as in like I know what they do and how I could help them and stuff like that. And then the other two are just hello uncle, hello auntie types. You see what I mean, right? I don't have like strangers. It's not like I go to their house to go have like lunch and dinner and stuff like that. But I still, when I meet them in the corridor or the elevator, I'm still having a conversation with them. Now, I don't know how many of you actually know your neighbors, but now is a good time to start. Now is a great time for you to go out and just speak to your neighbors, figure out who they are, what they do for work, and remember, always be listening. Okay, that's pretty much the whole idea. You just want to be listening and then just respond. Now, here's a quick tip when it comes to introducing yourself. I've had, and this is again from personal experience, right? I have friends who are CAs and CPAs and all that. I have no clue what that means. I know one person who's a what is that? What does that guy do? He's some sort of a risk something. I forget the thing. Okay, he has some fancy designation. Okay, underwriter, I think he is. That's what he. I don't know what he does. Okay, but here's the thing: when I ask you, "Hey, so what do you do?" Your response should never be, "I am a writer" or "I am a marketer." Okay, that there are many people who will be saying you should say that exactly, and that kind of a thing is okay if you are in a room full of people, like at a conference or at an event or at a technical event where everybody knows exactly what you do. But in most cases, what happens is if you're going to be networking with people outside your domain, outside your office, what you need to be able to do is say, "I help." Now, this is what I would do for like if I was a website developer, right? I help small businesses build their websites, or I help small businesses move online. So you see what happens is immediately, instead of just saying a website builder, right? That's just a tag that comes in. And immediately what happens is somebody, when they hear that, they're going to take that and then they're going to be just lumping it together with all the other Juntu Muntu website developers they know, right? That's not what we want to do, because we want to be remembered. We want to stand out. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, "I help people," or "I help small brands build websites," or "I help startups get leads via Facebook." I'm just saying, right? So if you're doing stuff like that, they know immediately what you do. And why this is important is immediately what happens is they start connecting with others, saying that, "Oh yeah, I think like A, B, and C might be interested in what you're doing." They might not tell you that. They might not tell you that, but in their head, they're already making those connections. And later on, when you're going to be speaking to them, they will have that connection. You can build upon that connection. You can reinforce it. The beauty of this thing is that you can always engineer this. The first time you're meeting someone, you can always say, "Hi, I'm Arvind. I help working professionals find direction, get clarity, and win at work using the power of stories." Now, that's obviously a bigger one that I built for Epic Career Labs, as you can see the logo here. But again, for you as an individual, you can figure out what is it that you want to say. Now, there are certain techniques that you can do, and I'm going to be building out a course on that as well. And that's actually pretty cool, because what you can do is you can actually go through this process and you can start building out your own personal brand. Now, personal branding is a big topic, and I have a lot to say about it, and I will be sharing more stuff with you in future episodes. Okay, so that was the first one, right? So when you're going, meeting new people, first place to start is your neighbors. You already have a lot of overlap. You have seen each other. And if you don't know who they are, say, "Hi, I am Arvind. I stay in 201." right? You can just go ahead and say something like that. And it's very easy to get the conversation started. When you're going ahead, one last tip, apart from introducing yourself by what you do, is that okay, that's number one. Introduce yourself saying what you do. Number two is give them some context. Where are you coming from? And number three is always have a bunch of questions prepared. Okay, simple, non-threatening, relevant questions to that context. Okay, just two or three questions just to get the conversation flowing. Because remember, you're always listening. And when you're listening, you always have more questions to ask. You don't want to turn it into an interrogation, right? You can maybe at the first time you go about doing this, maybe it can just be a hi, hello. That's it. You don't have to say anything else. Hello, hello. That's it. And you can walk off. But as you build up more and more time and effort, as you grow in skill, you can start engaging in longer conversations. And to take the conversations forward, you can always have like two or three questions relevant to the context in which you're meeting people in mind and prepared so that you can have that conversation with them. Okay, so first place to find people, close to home, neighbors. The next one is to look at friends of friends. You all know your friends, right? And you probably like your friends as well. Now, what you could do is you can actually ask your friends, hey, Macha, you know what? I like you. Can you introduce me to one other person whom blah, 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 whom you think would gel well with me? That's important, right? So that you get on and you connect with them in such a way that it makes sense for you. You're happy with this new relationship, and that other person also has a high probability of working out as your connection. Now, of course, you can connect with people for purely as a means to an end. Okay, that does happen, and that is prevalent. However, the moment you stop thinking of networking as a means to an end, something important happens. Remember that icky bit I talked about in the beginning, where I said that I thought networking was a very icky, sleazy thing to do? When I changed my mindset from thinking of I should network so that I can get that job, or I should network this so that I can get that client, things changed. When I started thinking of networking as just a way of meeting new people and having more friends, things changed. Now, I mean, that's it. That's the way to like clean it up, if you know what I mean, right? Think of them as your friends. Treat them as your friends. And remember, always be giving. Give before you take. Give before you ask. And you're going to be absolutely fine. So you can ask your friends to connect you with other of their own friends, people whom you don't know, and say, hey, you know what? Maybe you two should connect. This goes back to the whole connector thing that we were talking about as well. Of course, the third option is definitely social media and meetups. Now, social media is a great tool. It really helps connect people. And this is one great way that I can connect. Now, when I'm saying connect, mind you, I don't mean just sending a friend request on Facebook or a follow on Insta or a connection request on LinkedIn. It's not that, right? That is superficial. That is not you forming a relationship, because that's what networking is all about. It's about connecting meaningfully, right? It's having meaning in your connections and networking with an intention to form a bond, form a friendship. It's not just means to an end. There are opportunities, there are places where you can go out and do that. But when it comes to professional networking, what you want to do is, when you're using social media and meetups, is to kind of intensify that connection. Don't do what everybody's doing. And what everybody's doing is just saying, hi, hello, congrats on your work anniversary. That's like one click on LinkedIn. Nobody cares about that. Everybody knows how the system works. So do something more, go above and beyond, right? Invest in that relationship, especially when you're doing this. And meetups are a great place, because that's where a bunch of people will congregate in real world, right? Around a similar topic, or a topic that is of interest to everybody out there. Right. And that's a very important thing, because that's how you already have something in common to talk about. There are WordPress for there are meetups for a number of different things, including WordPress, YouTube creators, musicians, dog lovers, drum jams. There are so many different things that are driven by meetups. Meetup.com is the place that you want to go, but there are other meetups that you can be a part of as well, right? So go ahead and check that out. Next, purely from a professional front, conferences and events can be a great way for you to meet new people and network in a safe and secure context. One massive tip when you're doing this: do not drink alcohol. Okay? That is, especially if you can't hold your liquor. Now, this is not me doing some sort of moral preaching or something, but if your aim is to be like networking, right, what you want to do is very, very clear. Like, you want to be in control of your senses. You want to be able to think, you want to be able to remember, and you have to kind of establish some sort of a connection in your head between the people that you're talking to and what you're storing in your head. Okay. If you're drinking, that becomes a big challenge. And I have been to conferences. I have organized many conferences, and trust me, when people start drinking, it's absolute mayhem. Yes, bonding definitely does happen. I'm not debating that. But if you're not in a situation to remember what whose name is what and what they did, it's not going to be of much use. All right. And of course, when you're doing this in a professional perspective, you know how to kind of segregate what's work and what's play, and never cross your line. Okay. That's like career suicide, if you want to know what I mean. All right. Next up is your local haunt. There are many different places that have the unique place where, a bunch of different people from different places come together and congregate. In Bangalore, some of these places include Church Street Social, or it could be a local pub, or it could be a local Darshini. It's a restaurant on the roadside, or it could be a local Starbucks. Whatever it is, your local haunt is where people from many different places come in. It could even be your local park, right? It could be your local art space, like Lahi Lahi or Ata Galata. There are many different places for you to go and visit and frequent, where you are sure of meeting other people in the vicinity. It could be even a temple, because I know many connections are made in temples, believe it or not. My dad is one of the biggest proponents of going to the temple and connecting with people of all places. Well, he's done that successfully, and that worked for him and his generation. But for us, people like you and me, and whoever's going to be watching this in the future, place can change, but the concept remains. There are a bunch of people coming together in one place, and you can all connect about something, right? Again, remember, we're all trying to establish that overlap, and that becomes one of the most important things. The next thing is slightly different, okay? The previous one was your local haunt, and this is to become a local. There's a difference, right? You might have probably seen there are some places where you are treated as a regular, right? Like, I don't know if you guys are old enough to have seen Friends or Frasier, but Frasier, like in the previous thing, like Cheers, he was a local in that pub. Cheers. And in Friends, they were all locals at this cafe as well. I forget the name of the cafe in Friends. Anyway, so as you see, what happens is, if you are frequently there enough, you become a part of the fixture. You become a local there. And once you do become a local, that kind of opens up, and you can start bonding with other locals. I've seen this a lot in pubs in the UK when I was studying there in Manchester or working in London. People are locals, and sometimes people go to the same place for years or decades. I'm not even joking, years or decades. They become locals, and they have a lot of culture. They have a very strong bond that is formed as well. So you could become a local in some place that you want. Next is service. I love volunteering. Well, I love volunteering, but I don't do it as often as I would like to anymore, simply due to a paucity of time. And but when I used to do it, that used to be one of the best ways for me to meet with somebody, right? I used to volunteer for Let's Live Together. We've gone to Sankey Tanks to drive puppy adoptions for Indian dogs, and that was a lot of fun stuff, right? And I've done other volunteering for education with Parikrama, and I've done a bunch of volunteering work. And what I've found is, when you're volunteering, again, you find people who are, one, willing to take action, two, are possibly altruistic in nature, and therefore they're looking to make the community better. And this is a very powerful combination, because this is like a very, very interesting slash action oriented person that you want to connect with. And when you volunteer, of course, it goes without saying that you are obviously looking to make the world a better place as well. That's why you're volunteering your time. And remember, I'm not just talking about sending a check to charity. That's okay. Anybody can do that. But when you're volunteering your time and effort, that is valuable. So you should definitely look into that, because it's a great way to find people who have similar values as you do, as well as meeting new people in a non-threatening environment to connect with them. Of course, needless to say, a party, not just going to a party, but throwing one, is a great way of getting into getting more and more people into your network. It's as simple as that. Everybody loves party. You could throw themed parties. I am not very much a party person, but I do have friends who are, and I absolutely envy them. Okay, I just cannot. This is a shout out to Ashish, who seems to have like the time of his life every time he's throwing a party, but I am not one of those people. I am I am not one of those people. But the point is, parties are a great place, a great way to actually bring together a bunch of diverse people. Of course, Aditya Joker, he's a friend of mine. He does that as well. Great, great, great chap. Great way to connect very disparate people as well. Next up are classes. And by classes, I mean learning a new skill. You could be learning, or even better, you could be teaching. When you're doing this, you get to meet new people. Once I've started, or since I've started Epic Career Labs, I've been able to meet a ton of new and interesting people. And you won't believe, I met people from Switzerland, from Africa, well, more specifically from Nigeria. Not a prince, mind you, from all over India as well. People from the US and Australia, because I'm putting out this stuff and it's going out to different people and they're sending me emails, they're connecting with me, and this is a great way. Now I have no intention of, like, let me put it this way: I am not doing this so that I can connect with other people, to get something out of them, right? I'm doing this because I'm saying stuff that needs to be said, stuff that I wish I was told in the past, right? Now, when it comes to this is becoming a great conversation starter. It's becoming a great way for me to connect with people in different industries. It's becoming a great way for me to get mind space into the of my ideal customer, right? So all of these things work out really well. Also, if you're going to be joining an in-person class, like, once everything goes back to normal, or if you're joining an online class, and you are able to connect with other people, again, you have that overlap. You're doing the same thing as somebody else, and that gives you a common launching pad from which you can have your conversation. So that's quite important. Again, I covered about teach something. Now, this could be, again, in person or online, whatever you want to do. This also gives you the added bonus of being seen as the authority or as the expert in this particular space. And that goes a long way in terms of opening up doors for you to connect via. Okay. Starting your own club. Now, this is a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of hard work, right? Because starting a club is not easy. You need to do a lot of work, but it really helps if you're a member of different clubs, and you can start a club around just about anything, right? You can start a club around, like, you could start a book club, you could start a stamp collecting club, you could start off a audiobook narration club. One of my friends, Abhilash, what he does is he narrates books for blind kids. He narrates textbooks for blind kids, and he also works as a scribe. I think Prithviraj's friend Gayatri also does the same thing. She, writes as a scribe for blind children as well. Now, see, they all have a club, right? So they have something in common. Again, they're again tied by a unique and universal motive for them, right, within that community. So there, when you have this, and if you start your own club, you can start fostering such a thing. Now, when it comes to Epic Career Labs, we are a community. We are a club of people who are hopefully focused on making their own careers better. Okay. Now, of course, clubs have certain additional conditions, such as you have to have membership and you have rules and laws. There are a whole lot of things, but just do a little bit of research into starting your own club. But beware, because starting something is easy, right? Continuing it is tough. So you'll have to figure out how you're going to be balancing that. Another one is TEDx and Ink Talks. Now, usually these events are attended by the intellectual types, the people who are in favor of big ideas. They love design, they love aesthetics, they want to see how they can change the world. These are very passionate, driven people. These are the kind of people who come up to TEDx and Ink Talks from when I used to go, right? When I've gone in the past. I met some very nice people who are still friends with me till this day, whom I met at TEDx Bangalore the first time it happened, right? Now, great place to meet. And of course, again, the conversations that you can have at these sort of events are crazy, because you can just talk about anything and everybody will have something to say about it. They have, like, well versed in that topic. So conversations can get very exciting and a lot of fun that you can have in these sort of events, right? So the connections that you make can actually last a long time. Plus, they have this added bonus of being slightly more erudite, slightly more intellectual, right, from what I have seen, or more action and passion oriented. So that's a really cool thing for you to check out as well. Now, speaking about professional networks, which are purely focused as a means to an end, okay? Well, I'm not going to say that BNI and other similar organizations are just for means to an end, but that is definitely a significant chunk of the relationships. I've attended several meetings of BNI chapters. I paid money out of my pocket to attend their meetings. That's how you know that they're serious. They charge you to attend even as a guest. There's definitely a lot of merit. There's definitely a lot of connections that you can have. And remember, the rule, at least as far as I could gather in BNI, is not to ask the people who are there for business. They will become your salesman, if you will, right? They will refer you to other people for business, and you also can and must, I'm guessing, refer them business from your network as well. It's a you scratch my back, I scratch your back sort of a thing. It's a good thing. It works, and if it matches your aptitude and your mental perspective, you should totally go ahead for it. I have a comment to share. Look at this. A part of the networking and job was eye contact. A hello hero there. You came across people in the office corridors. It's gone now. Okay. Thank you for your comment, Abhilash. And I hope you definitely have something more to share about BNI as well. Now, in this particular situation, I think the hi and hello has gone off and has been replaced by, well, virtual communication. And what I mean by that is definitely stuff like Facebook chats, WhatsApp pings, sending funny images, stickers, and all that. It's like the old Facebook poke. I don't know if it's still there because I haven't used it in ages, but it's like sending a sticker on WhatsApp saying that, hey, I recognize you. I know that you're alive, right? Or just something like, hey, what you doing now? Or hey, what do you think of this? Sending them a YouTube video, right? Now, it's definitely a lot more challenging for us because uh, we have to now put an extra effort because there was just pure serendipity, pure chance as it was happening before. But right now, when you're looking at this, when it is no longer in the real world, I have to stick my head out so that you can see me. But the point is, when you have a situation like this, especially as what we have today in the lockdown and all that, you realize that you have to put in extra effort. That's the first part. Now, the second part is it's we only speak to people who matter in the project. I think that's a sad truth, simply because it's now speaking and it's more become a matter of power dynamics in the organization, right? And that is my understanding from your question as well. Now, if you're focusing just on a who matters and who's the result, that's true. That's what's happening now, and I will be doing a later episode on office politics and how to navigate that. But for the moment, what I want you to understand is that is that is what's happening. Okay, I get that. You know that, you can see it too. But you and I, we don't have to do that. We don't have to be like that. What we can do is we can break that rule. Now, just remember, it's not just the person that you are directly connecting with, but who else they can connect you to. Now, it might sound very selfish or cheesy or very intellectual, like, I'm like making the strategic connection. But you know what? That's the truth, right? You have to recognize each person as an individual. And I think that would be very, very important. Like, you realize that the other person is a human as well. And what happens is, in that situation, if you can break away from the trend, right, and you can see that you can add a lot more value by recognizing the other person. You have a value by recognizing them as a person, realizing that they're not just a part of the wallpaper. You're not connecting with somebody as a means to an end, right? You're making friends. And you don't need to have friends only in high places. So that's there. Abhilash has an interesting comment. I've been a part of BNI. Oh, that's great. I can talk about it forever. But yes, thank you for that validation. Yes, BNI was interesting, and I think it does exist because it serves a purpose and it is valuable. Members in BNI are able to harness the power that BNI offers, and they're able to take it to great lengths and build their businesses. Again, you have to be a fit. If you are, just go online, find their local chapter or something. That makes a lot of sense. Remember how I spoke about starting your own club earlier? Well, you could essentially join a club that already exists. There are clubs about just about everything. I am a part of Toastmasters. That's going to be coming up later as well. It's a public speaking and leadership focused club. I am a part of, I think, right, that's the only club I am a part of right now. But earlier, I used to be a part of a book club. I used to be a part of an accountability group, which I was paying money for. I've been a part of a inner circle of an entrepreneur training company. A lot of these things. Okay. Now, these clubs are great places for me to go and meet other people. Other clubs that you might think of are Zumba classes. My wife was, for the longest time, the biggest fan of Zumba. And even though there were other people, in my objective opinion, in my opinion, right? She would still go back to the same place because she had a lot of bonds and a lot of connections with those people over there. So clubs are a great place as well. There are other clubs, like for example, in Bangalore, there is Bangalore Club and there is Metropolitan Club. And these are fancy clubs, right? And I don't know how to get in. I'm not a part of any of them, but if you do have that, that's also a great place to go and make connections. There are clubs focused on religion, or I think, like for example, Catholic club. I'm guessing, all right? I don't know about the Catholic club, but there is a Catholic club. Again, there are different things that you can join a club around. Okay, we've spoken about that. There is another great place to go join and meet like-minded people. Aha. You see what I did there? You could join our community. And if you haven't done so, you should definitely and totally join our club, of course, of people who are focused on building their careers and winning at work. Okay. Go to epiccareerlabs.com/join. That's good. I found gyms also to be a great place to connect. Now, again, I used to go to the gym a long time ago, and then I stopped. And then I went to this place called Cult, which is all about classes. And I'm doing this because I used to do a lot of boxing. And I have a lot of, believe it or not, I have a lot of boxing friends. I think like about 5 or 6. There's Animesh, there's Yuvraj, there's Gaurav, there's David, there's Karthik. Again, these are all people. There is like literally nothing in like I have in common. I would have never met these people unless I went to Cult and I did boxing, right? And I think it's a pretty cool thing because it's again a common community thing. And again, for me, it comes under the aegis of the gym. And I've been to like Gold's Gym here, right? And then there are a lot of like people are like bench pressing, and then one guy is spotting, and as soon as they're done, when they're doing that cool down bit, they're talking business, right? They're like, oh yeah, I have such and such thing. Do you want this? Do you want that? And it's crazy, man. So if you find somebody, there's always again a good chance and a good opportunity for you to connect with others. And the final thing that I wanted to drive home about is Toastmasters. I personally am a product of this product. I have benefited tremendously by Toastmasters. I want to kind of unpack that a little bit here and explain how as well, right? One was obviously my marked improvement in my public speaking, my communication skills, as well as in the approach to leadership that I've taken. I've learned a lot about myself, and I've been able to use that to become a better person, to become a better professional. And in fact, I've even been able to leverage the stuff that I've learned at Toastmasters to launch my businesses. And I think that's a very, very good thing. And I think it's something that's very, very important. Apart from that, I think the biggest benefit that I've got is the fact that I've connected to so many different kinds of people. I've met cybersecurity consultants, I've met entrepreneurs, I've met doctors, I've met singers, dancers, students, other entrepreneurs, trainers. The list just goes on and on and on. The fact is, just about anybody you can think of, right? Somebody matching that criteria would be there in Toastmasters. And it's a great, safe, nurturing sort of an environment where you can go and meet people. Now, remember, Toastmasters is not about going there and building business relationships. It's not that. What I'm saying, and this is like the whole essence of networking, right? You're not trying to connect with people as a means to an end. You're connecting with people simply because you want to form new relationships. Okay? You're trying to find new friendships. You're trying to find, not everybody's got to be your best friend. Okay? Not everybody has to be your best friend. But what you do want to do is make sure that you're able to connect with someone in a way that is meaningful to you as well as to them. Okay? Because at the end of the day, it all boils down to talking to new people in new places. Believe it or not, I have made contacts or acquaintances, I'll put it that way. Once, I'm just going to rattle off a couple of different things that I've done just to do that. When I was working at Jigsaw Academy, there was this Darshini, right? There's a restaurant. And I've just walked up to people saying, hey guys, I've seen you eat here every single day. Do you mind if I join you for lunch? It's a self-service restaurant, and I have gone there and I've done that. So that's number one. I have gone to this this board game meetup that's there, right? There's a board game meetup, and there I've just gone. I played games like Dungeons and Dragons. Like there was this one time where I drove almost 25 kilometers from in Bangalore at night, okay, just to go play a Dungeons and Dragons game. Believe it or not, I've done that. I've still met some nice people over there. I'm still friends with some of them from then, right? I have gone to, like I said, I've helped in puppy adoptions, and I met an RJ who then again just coincidentally happens to live near my house, and we met at the mini forest where we go for a walk. See, that's the beauty of this, right? When you start making connections without expecting anything in return, when you start digging your well before you need the water, before when you start connecting with people with an intention to add value to them, I think a lot of magical stuff happens. And then at the essence of it is just to, well, meet new people in new places. Now, just to summarize this whole thing, we spoke about the 5 rules, and I want to reiterate that one of the biggest rules and the most important rules, right? I just want to be running through them very quickly. 1, dig your well before you need it. 2, add value. Okay, before you take something out of the bank, put some money in the bank, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. Next, total immersion. You just want to completely fall in love with them so that you know pretty much everything that's happening in their lives so that you can act on it. Next, be a connector. If you don't have something to add, you definitely have your network, right? If I don't have anything to add you, I can still connect you to my friends, or I can connect with other people and then, kind of just build that network and make it stronger by more lateral nodes. And finally, I think this is the most important thing, listen before you talk. Okay. With that, I essentially conclude everything that I wanted to share with you about my entire take on how to start off with professional networking. This is how I've been doing it. I still believe that there are some people that I know of that I've met who, like, for example, my friend Abhilash, right? I think the first time I met him was through Toastmasters. And I think the first conversation that I had with him was about, like, hey, you know what? I think your business can help, can benefit by this. And so that's there. I'm a part of a board game design group, and there was one guy called Benjamin, I think that was his name. He's created a board game, a print and play game, right, about the coronavirus. Now, at that time, I said, like, hey, dude, listen, I'm good at writing and editing. Why don't I just edit your rules book, the how to play thing for free? And he's like, huh? Why would you do that? I'm like, dude, I like this. This will help you. I think it's a win-win, right? So I'm always looking at adding value. I'm looking at saying how I can, help you out. One of my other friends, Ashish, if he's here, he used to have a little bit of a challenge in terms of what if people are judging me? And I love the story, and I love sharing it every single time. Together, he and we actually did something really, really crazy, right? So we've actually slept on the footpath just to overcome our fear of being judged. It was a safe place, right? But still, people were looking at us as if we are crazy. So that's done. There was this other friend, and in Bangalore, India, there's definitely this massive problem of people riding motorcycles on the footpath. And I have just, like, literally just stood there like Hodor, right, holding the door. And what happened was, well, they tried coming. I just stood the ground. I think Ashish was there as well. And well, people from the street came in, and they're supporting me. And obviously the criminals who were driving on the footpath, they were forced to go back. Now, again, it all boils down to that one very, very, very simple thing, right? It's about having something relevant to talk about, going to a new place and meeting new people and talking to them about that. And if you're scared, remember, you can always buy the book from this lady, Leila Lowndes. It's there on Amazon. I think 92 different tips and tricks on how to talk to anyone. Great book, worth its weight, especially if you're an introvert. And believe it or not, like I said, I was an introvert, and I have managed to become one of the most extroverted people I know. All right, guys, that essentially sums up everything. And I am, of course, available on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm going to be just talking for about the last 1 minute or so. So in case if you have any questions, just keep on coming, because well, I love answering questions. That's kind of why I'm doing this as a live stream as well. So as soon as you have questions pop up, I can answer them. While that's going on, I just want to give you a couple of quick updates. One is that my first giveaway is actually done. And I think we got about 100 odd people applying to this. And I think that was a pretty cool thing. And out of that, we have the system, not me, the system has actually decided on 2 people, Rahul and Nazim. And I've already gotten in touch with them, and I'm going to be helping them with their coaching as well. That being said, I am also looking out for other people to join a mastermind group. Yesterday was the 29th of April, 2020. And we were talking about mastermind groups. One or two people have actually reached out to me saying that they're interested in forming a mastermind group. If you guys are interested, just Ashish, If you guys are interested in being a part of a mastermind group, just ping me and I'll help you get started as well. Ashish, glad to have lived those 2 episodes with you. Yes, he is the Ashish that, we fought off valiantly against motorcyclists who were trying to usurp the pavement. And of course, we slept on the footpath as well. Okie dokie. I think we have reached a natural end for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, today is Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday. So I will be having one more live stream tomorrow at 6 p.m. And I will be sending out the message on what the topic is if you are a part of my email list, which you can join you following that ticker that's going epiccareerlabs.com/join. And for now, Arvind saying over and out.